A couple of you may have noticed that I had a big debate with some rad femmes on one of my videos. If you want to find it, it was the gender discovery video. Something kind of stuck with me, and that was, don't worry, I'm not a rad femme. My question was, alright, well, if you think that gender is completely a social construct made by the patriarchy and, you know, there's only male and female and intersex sexes and gender doesn't exist, and they think that trans people are... So I asked them, I said, well, if you think that gender doesn't exist, then why should we continue to have gendered pronouns? Why can't we just call everyone they, them, their? Because if gender doesn't exist and only sex exists, then if I refer to someone as he, then I'm saying, you person with a penis and XY chromosomes. You know, because if gender's not a thing, then what are pronouns referring to if not sex? And if they're only referring to sex, then I feel like it's kind of weird going around using a pronoun that refers to someone's genitalia and chromosomes. And then she said, well, you know, it's really important to have gendered pronouns because then we can get statistics on violence against women. I thought, well, that's complete bullshit because pronouns don't reflect race and we can still talk about violence against black people because these things are noted down. You know, any kind of hate crime can be documented and we don't need pronouns. And then I started thinking, and I have been thinking about this for a little while. I kind of want to swing, but I feel like that might be bad for the microphone. Yeah, so I started thinking about why have I continued to use she, her, her pronouns? Allergic to swinging. Why have I continued to use she, her, her pronouns if they don't reflect any gender I identify with? And I thought, well, it's exactly that. It's so I've been able to legitimize my conversations when I talk about the sexism I face. I think actually that's a really shitty reason to continue to use pronouns that don't really reflect my gender. I can go around saying that pronouns don't have gender as much as I want, but that doesn't really ring true for most of the world's population, English-speaking population. Just to be super clear about what I'm saying here, I'm not insinuating that the rad femmes were right at all. I'm just saying that throughout this discussion I realised that pronouns only reflect gender and not other very important, if not more important, parts of my identity. I realised that the reason I was clinging to the she, her, her pronouns were that when I talked about sexism I face, that I would be taken seriously and that my experiences would be validated by my pronouns. But I realised I can talk about homophobia I face, or you can talk about racism that someone else faces without having their pronouns reflect that, and that's a really bad reason for me to cling to pronouns that really don't reflect the way I understand my own gender. And I mean, it's pretty much what I was saying in that video anyway, is that no matter how you identify, if you're an AFAB person and you're not on T, or you're just read as female, then you're still going to be subject to sexism. I felt like if I changed my pronouns to they, them, theirs, I could no longer be a part of that discussion or debate. So, yes. Eddie Izzard is pretty awesome, and my hair is terrible, and that's the news for today. Thanks for watching. Take that back. Izzard said some weird stuff about politics. So I feel like I don't really know why I've been going by she, her, her pronouns for this long when it doesn't reflect the way I understand myself in terms of gender. I'm thinking of changing them. Not quite yet. I want to give it a month or two and mull it over. But I'm thinking of changing them to they, their, theirs pronouns. Another thing that kind of was putting me off was I'd kind of understood pronouns. This was ages ago. Pronouns and gender as a spectrum. So you've got male hair, female hair, and in the middle you've got non-binary genders. Because I'm very certain that I'm not male, and I've always been very sure of this, whether I've been identifying as a tomboy or butch or non-binary, I've always known that I'm not a man. I always worried that going by they, them, their pronouns would push me closer towards maleness, which is not a destination I want to arrive at or even journey towards. I've kind of understood gender a lot more like a triangle. Let's just talk about the three main pronouns. He, she, they. If I'm in the she, her, hers corner of a triangle and I journey towards they, them, their, I'm probably still going to be fine with she, her as well. I'm going to be one of those annoying people who's like, you can call me they, them, or she, her, and people will be like, pick one. TBH, I would pick they, them. I realistically know that people aren't going to call me that at work, and I don't want to be upset and offended every time someone misgenders me, because if my only pronouns were they, them, theirs, that would probably be every day for the rest of my life. I already get misgendered all the time. I fucking flying on the way here. I got sir, he, him, and then I went through the thing, and they put me through as male. Anyway, the point is that if I go from she, her pronouns to they, them, I'm not going any closer to maleness. This is an equilateral triangle, by the way, for all us geeks. I'm just journeying to another point in the triangle. I'm not heading closer or more towards he, him pronouns or maleness. Anyway, pronouns. What even are they? And I honestly believe that none of the new made up ones like Z and here, I just don't think that they're going to catch on. I was reading a linguist's blog and he said that historically it's far easier to reappropriate a word that already exists and change its meaning than to introduce new words into the English language, unless they have to do with technology, obviously like selfies and stuff. But things, especially pronouns and like prefixes and things that you use all the time without really realizing it, it's really hard to introduce new ones. And I mean, I always knew, even as a kid, that they, them could be used as singular. And I don't understand why some people get confused. Because when you use the pronoun they, you're referring to whoever you just mentioned. So if you say, someone from the telephone company called, they wanted to know when you're free, you've just specified that it's a single person, so it's not confusing. And if you say, the football team's coming over, they're going to need some more room, then you know that they've just referred to the football team. So I never understand why people get confused between the they, them, the singular and plural. They, them, singular is themself, and they, them, plural is themselves. So there's still a differentiation. I mean, people who say, they, them isn't singular, I mean, the word themself exists, and it's been in the dictionary for yonks, and you'd never say themself if you're referring plurally to someone, so why would the word themself exist? But those pronouns, she, her, hers, it's not even like I feel upset about them, they just feel silly. It's like if someone came up to me and said, you are a duck, you have feathers, and you are buoyant in ponds. Like, it's like, I'm not offended. It's just starting to sound really absurd. And that's how I feel about she, her, her pronouns. Like, I'm not sad or upset. I'm not gonna go crying to the bathroom. Which bathroom? But it's just starting to sound silly. Like, it doesn't reflect who I am as a person.